All right, well, welcome everyone. Today is January 25, 2022, and welcome to the first Sliven General Meeting of this year. And tonight we are going to talk about winterizing, and we have a great guest speaker with us tonight, Chief Bob Gray from Felton Fire. So a few announcements. First is that it being the first general meeting of the new year, we would like to remind everyone that you can become a Sliven member for the year. The annual membership is only $24. And we will accept checks. You can put them in the mail to P.O. Box 534, Felton, 95018. Although perhaps sometime this year we will hope to get online payment options possible through our website or other channels. So we'll let you know. So thank you for your support, and we love it when people become members of Sliven because we are a member organization. Second announcement, as many of you may know, there is a national blood shortage, and Red Cross does run blood drives throughout the year. Signups are required. Please go to redcrossblood.org. I've noticed most recently that signups now are for March. So you can sign up to donate blood, for example, at the Ben Lomond Senior Center on Saturday, March 5, or at the Felton Presbyterian Church on Friday, March 18, among other areas in Santa Cruz County. One or a couple notes about this year, 2022. With respect to Sliven general meetings, our meetings like tonight are on Zoom. We do hope that in the future, if the COVID-19 situation gets better, and if we can have in-person meetings again, we hope to do so at the Felton Library. But we, of course, will be following closely guidelines from county health to ensure everyone's safety. And so we will let you know in future months as situations permit us to have in-person and or hybrid meetings. This coming year, there are some events that we plan to participate in. The first being that we will be doing tabling at various markets, including makers markets that happen throughout the year, and at some pancake breakfasts run by our local fire districts. So we hope to see you out there, and we'll be handing out information, helping the general public become more aware of emergency preparedness and disasters. Two other events, notably this year, at the end of May is the Felton Remembers event, which is a parade and an event at the Felton Park. So we hope to see you there for Felton Remembers. And also, the Redwood Mountain Fair is expected to be on this year, June 4th and 5th. So I hope you all are excited to come out and see the music and enjoy the summertime. And Sliven will be working as volunteers in that event. We will be having a call out for help for anyone who might be able to join us. More details on that probably next month. All right, and so with that, we're going to turn our attention to our current topic, which is winterizing, rains and floods and roads. And we have with us Chief Bob Gray from Felton Fire. Welcome, Chief Gray.
All right, thank you, Tammy. Appreciate that. So I just let's just hope this does like a rain dance for us, and we actually end up with some rain that we can apply this information we're using. So We did see quite a bit of rain at the beginning of the season this year, as you all know, and that was good while it was coming, but it's kind of dried up. So I did want to talk a little bit about some of the debris flow stuff and the things that we're doing and concerns, and we're all trying to figure this out, what the best way to do it is, as far as notifications of the people that are in the path of potential debris flows. I know there was some of you participated last year in the door-to-door canvassing of some of those homes to notify the people of their that they might be at risk. So, what we're basically up against is, notifying people that they could be at risk, but also giving them the information they need to make an educated decision if they want to stay or evacuate. So, some of the things we've been trying to work with the county folks, the geologists and flood control people on, what is the realistic, expectation of, a debris flow in these different drainages, some more than others. Of course, as you go up the valley, the more of a fire burn scar there was in these tight, narrow drainages like Clear Creek and Foreman Creek, more towards Brookdale, Boulder Creek. They definitely saw some movement. When you come down towards Felton, or the Bull Creek and Shingle Mill, much less impact, and did not see nearly the movement that they did up in the northern part of the county, both Boulder Creek and even in the north coast, there was some movement. So the debris flows are a thing. I think that when we all went into this, we were thinking debris flow like Santa Barbara a few years back, where the whole mountain fell down and covered the freeway, which that is a scenario that could unfold. But as we move post wildfire, each year it gets a little less of a concern. Being that we didn't have a lot of rain last year, we didn't know what to expect this year, because do we lower the thresholds of rain rates? So for the amount of rain that we get to trigger an evacuation. That was all based upon some state reports that were done, and local county contractor that came in and did a report, and they're all basically saying the same thing as far as rain rates, and let's not be too quick to drop those rain rates lower or higher, I should say, raise them to the point where we wouldn't necessarily notify people. So I think we'll probably have it pretty well figured out once it's all done. But the idea going forward is we're keeping all the same thresholds. So I should have that information in front of me, but I don't right in the moment. But it's based upon a 15-minute, a 30-minute, and a 1-hour rainfall rate. And so if you're getting a certain amount of rainfall, if it's an inch an hour, it's the threshold has been met for one of these debris flows. Now, there is a difference between debris flows and mud flows, I've learned. The debris flow is basically a river of debris. So it's like it moves like water. Looks very liquidy, and it moves very quickly, and it's like a flash flood in a way. It could just all of a sudden happen with not a whole lot of warning other than the rainfall. A mudslide or a mud flow is where it's much more of a muddy consistency, or maybe just the side of the road has become saturated and some sloughs off. So there was a lot of confusion going into this, the storms that we had this year, that are these there's a debris flow on Highway 9. It's like, no, that's just a normal little rock slide that we had where the hill slides away. In a debris flow, it actually is it's a layer of dirt that is, and debris, sticks and other ash type stuff that is become mobilized with just enough mixture of rain and the intensity. So, like I said, that we had the one evacuation event where we notified people that there was the potential, and there was some movement. The concern that we've faced is that each time we make a notification, we get less compliance, and I attribute that largely to we're trying to get the information out to the people, but it's really hard in the litigious society we live in to tell somebody something and not tell them that they need to leave, because then if they don't leave, we're liable. If they do leave and nothing happens, then they're mad at us. So we're really working towards like an educational type of a program for the very tail end of this season, in the in all of next year. Hopefully after the 3 years, typically 3 years post wildfire is when a debris flow is most likely, each year with a lessening degree, but being the lack of rainfall, it's hard. We don't have a lot of data on how much rainfall it takes to make a debris flow until just very recently. So do you guys have any questions in regards to that aspect of the wintertime stuff? I mean, I'll go into wires down and roads and that stuff, but the debris flow, that's kind of something new for us that we haven't talked about. So
yeah, Liz.
Chief Gray, one of the things that I see that happens is that is sort of the Facebook effect, and I know we've talked about it, where one person hears something or hears something on a scanner or whatever, and suddenly decides that they're going to become an emergency radio broadcasting system. And they may do that with or without any knowledge of what they're reporting or what they're sharing, or even about the validity of it. So who do you recommend that we listen to, that we cite as a source for our information when things are unsure and uncertain? I know, for instance, with the debris flow, there was lots and lots of talk about what was going on up in Boulder Creek and Brookdale. Not much about what was going on Felton. In Felton, though, I do know that there were some issues. So who do you recommend we use as a source of reliable information?
Yeah, that's a really good question, and obviously the biggest issue that we're up against. Trying to get kind of a central message from all of the agencies involved, and so we've typically been looking to the county of Santa Cruz, their PIO, Public Information Officer, has been drafting, well, in conjunction with the county PIO, the sheriff's office, Public Information, and CAL FIRE Public Information, for making press releases that are going to be the most accurate information at that moment. Now they will change. Just situations may change, conditions may change. We're trying to look in a crystal ball, and these meetings are kind of funny because you sit there and you have all the first responders pushing the weather people to give you definitives, and weather people don't give definitives, and first responders don't work in percentages and such. So it's been interesting to be, where is that the happy medium? So those sources, either CAL FIRE, CZU Twitter, which I think many of you know already. There's a CAL FIRE media information, like when they push out updates, you get them to your email. Excuse me. There is the Santa Cruz County Sheriff's Office, which is they're responsible for the evacuation, so you can take their information to the bank as far as being what they're doing is their operation. The Sheriff's Office is part of the county, so they're obviously closely working together, and the Office of emergency services, or as ours is called, the OR3, the Office of Response, Recovery and Resilience. All of those different places are great, solid information. All of those organizations also have Facebook sites. Felton Fire, we try to post updates on our Facebook page as it pertains to Felton. We steer away from going outside of the Felton area just because it's, we know what we know, and that's what we're going to report on. So we've been asked several times, it's like, well, what's going on, in Brookdale? It's like, I don't know. You'll have to, that's not my area to know right now. So, but like I said, the individual fire agencies are great, but if you go to the sheriff's office or the county, that's where your real solid information, in my opinion, would come from. And that's where I pull my stuff from as well.
Thank you.
Another issue that we experienced that I was kind of disappointed it happened the second time, because I thought we had it worked out, was we split a bunch of zones. So you had the zone haven zones that were pushed out for all risk, or all different types of stuff. They were not just for wildfires. So we pushed out those zone haven zones, and then we overlaid the study done by the state for the hazard zones for the debris flows. So we overlaid them and made evacuation zones based upon those areas that would be most impacted, or the areas that would be landlocked because of a debris flow. So it ended up doing what they called splitting the zone, where there'll be like an A and a B. So that created some confusion, because we launched it, said know your zone, and then we split the zones. And so, in that process, we were not able to break out the two zones in the code red notification system. You have all these different software platforms that don't necessarily all mesh. You kind of have to tweak them a little bit to make them work. So the code red, which is the one that calls you the reverse 911 system, can do certain things and has certain parameters. And the zone haven, which is the evacuation platform, the map, the interactive software, has other parameters. So they weren't fully aligned. And so what ended up happening was code red calls, reverse 911 calls went out with saying that, you are in a debris flow hazard area, you should evacuate. And which then spurred a big, kind of pushback that, well, you guys all told us that we were safe, and now you're telling me we have to go because I just got a call. And so it created some miscommunication and definite confusion. And unfortunately, I think we lost some of the folks out there trust, as far as if these are, we're crying wolf, basically. So my hope, going forward, is that we can go more of an informative model rather than unless if there's something we're going to get in, 10 inches of rain an hour for 24 hours, will rival 1982 flood levels. Something that's really blatantly going to be a problem. That we stick to more of a notification or informational campaign than a mandate or warning evacuation. So because we really do, we got pretty good compliance during the CZU fire for evacuation, and it's largely attributed to the fact that there was an imminent threat that they could see, not this hypothetical debris flow that may or may not happen. And so I'm very hopeful that we'll get this straightened out and get the notifications working a lot better. If anything, it's been a great test of our systems to work these bugs out for relatively low risk events, as opposed to something like the wildfires or an earthquake or something like that, where we wouldn't necessarily have the luxury of time. So any questions in regards to debris flows, mud flows, dirt moving? Tammy?
I have one, yeah.
Sure.
And that was because this was the October storms, I think, right? It's been a while. Just, watching social media, I did actually see someone, and I think it was someone who was in Boulder Creek, who posted a video of what was essentially a small, what would have been a small creek next to their property that they filmed. And boy, it certainly looked to me like it was its own little debris flow with lots of mud and lots of limbs and rocks and pretty high water level for what should have been a small little creek. And I regret not trying to figure out exactly where that was. I had also heard or just seen people post that, gosh, yes, there really was a debris flow. I don't know if that's what you were referring to in your prior comments. Like, was there actually what you would consider a debris flow of any particular magnitude?
Yeah, there were several. I don't know the exact numbers. I do know that one, that the video, I believe the one you're talking about, I saw, and it was most definitely was a debris flow. There was, I believe that was on Foreman Creek, which is in Boulder Creek area. There was also up, I think, Highway 236 area. There was some properties where there was, I haven't really talked to them and got the whole download on it, but they said that there was a rumbling, and I'm not sure what exactly was rumbling, but it was, from what they described, it was really eerie, this rumbling, and it had something to do with the whole debris flow stuff. So I've yet to kind of debrief on what some of those others had experienced and that was the January storm where we did get those debris flows. There was, I want to say, 3 that I know of. One was up, like I said, up the North Coast, like in the Swanton area. That one wasn't as much of an impact from what I was told, because there's nothing out there. So it happened. And so, but it did happen. The others in Boulder Creek were much more populated areas. So there was those, ring cameras or security cameras, or, individuals. Yeah, so it looks like Bill just posted the video. Thank you, because yeah, I knew it was out there. I know it's out there, and I know that we are looking to use that as well in the county, at least, for some of their public information that they want to push out, that, yeah, it did happen. That is a debris flow. This was the first time that we actually saw movement like that in a rainstorm post-fire. So it shows that a lot of the data we have is correct. It's just, like I said at the very beginning, not all these drainages are equally impacted. Some much more than others. So anyways, so let's that. Andrew, you said something. I talked. Western Ave and Forest Way and Clear Creek. Yeah, along Clear Creek. Yeah, that Altavia and along Clear Creek and Brookdale. I also had heard that from some folks. So, Liz, do you have a question?
I do. Where do we need to be concerned about in the Felton area?
The two areas that in the Felton, or I guess 3 areas, are the Fall Creek drainage, the Bull Creek drainage, which is the creek that runs behind the fire station and through underground through town, and the Shingle Mill drainage, which is off kind of more towards the quarry, Felton Quarry side of things, not quite that far, but those are the 3 drainages that were impacted. From what the geologists and all the reports that have shown, Felton has always been in a low risk category, but having walked it myself, there is potential out there. I don't think that we would see a cataclysmic event that would wipe out all of town, if the debris flow was on the Bull Creek side of things. But there are some neighborhoods on the Shingle Mill Creek that are very steep and one way in, one way out. And, those are the ones that I'm concerned about. And, because they don't have anywhere to go. The mud doesn't have anywhere to go. It does, when it hits town, it would fan out into what they call an alluvial fan. which the geologists will tell you that the evidence is in the soil here that shows that these debris flows have happened, in the past on a lot of these drainages. So, long before we were here and houses were here and such. So,
Follow-up question.
follow-up question.
What would the impact of this be on our local, for instance, on the San Lorenzo River, the Zayante, because that all kind of comes in as a fork there also. So would you anticipate it would wind up in the river, which then leads to flooding problems?
Yeah, I mean, if we were to, we could run out that scenario, because I have in my head, what if that were to happen? And talking with the geologists and the flood control people, at first they were like, yeah, it's not a big deal, it won't impact it. And then after a little bit more looking, it's like, well, yeah, it's gonna, Bull Creek and Fall Creek especially are gonna feed into the San Lorenzo ahead of our floodplain in the Felton Grove. So, and then you combine that with the Zayante Creek coming in just downstream from Felton Grove, you can kind of see where things could potentially bottleneck. I plan for it. I don't think it's a high likelihood at all. But if you had a swollen river that was already flood or already at warning stage, and then you threw a debris flow in there, it's bound to create, rapid rise, and that would be a concern for me.
Okay, thank you.
Veryl, and then Allison.
I was just going just to comment that when the last one, the possible debris flow, I actually heard people from the Boulder Creek fire saying, "Oh yeah, well, if you hear the noise rumbling, then you should get out." And that just seemed like counterintuitive to what we were telling everybody in the flyers, that you need to go out before that.
Well, and
But-
yeah, and that's kind of the issue here. I mean, feel like it's kind of like COVID all over again. There's a lot of different information that's getting thrown out there. And why I feel it's important to try to set that record straight wherever you can, and try to push people to the sheriff's office, the county, the CAL FIRE, all those press releases that are coming out, they're saying the same thing. And that is, what we want people to do. But yeah, we struggle with the Facebook effect all the time. And I mean, to the point where it's almost a position we have to assign on an incident, because if we don't take charge of the narrative of what's being pushed out, it will create itself, and then we have to backtrack. So, that's kind of the direction that we're going in, is if we have a major incident, we're going to assign somebody to Facebook and just social media in general, to try to control as much as we can for what we know.
Yeah, it sounds like a good idea to do that. We definitely don't want misinformation getting out as much as possible.
Yeah, I mean, the honest truth is, if you hear it, it's probably too late. If you're in the path and you hear it, it's too late. So it's only by, luck that you would miss it at that point.
Yeah, after saying it so many times with those flyers and door to door, I couldn't believe it. Yeah, it was being said by the fire department. It's like, no, can't be that.
Yeah, well, we've got all of us in first response are, and I'm sure a lot of you folks as well are feeling the fatigue of everything. Disaster fatigue is, and so it's, it's really hard, to keep professional and keep doing the right thing. And, because that's the community's looking to us for guidance. So, we definitely are focused on that.
Can I ask a question?
Sure. Hold on a sec, Cindy. I've got Allison, and then Dan, and then you, Cindy.
Okay.
Okay. I think the rumor mill has been an age-old problem. It's just on steroids now. So once we find a solution to that, I think we've found a solution to everything. I'm concerned about my experience with the TEP Center last year. There were some negative experiences going on with some of the people, being, for instance, people still coming to it when it was closed down and not knowing what to do and things like that. Have there been alternative plans made in hindsight since then about how to handle people who need to evacuate?
Yeah, the care and sheltering is, as you know, done by the county of Santa Cruz, and they they were very well aware of some major issues with communicating what was open and what the services available were. I've been really strong proponent of making sure that they have a call center available when they push any sort of evacuation warning or order, because people are going to have questions, and it's always a one-off question. And you know, we, as the fire agencies, we all try to get the phone and answer those questions, but oftentimes we're also preparing for our operation at the same time. So I strongly encourage the county to do that. As part of that, they have refined the system a little bit better as far as identifying when those shelters are open and closed and what's available. But it will be an ongoing thing. And if anybody sees something like that, what is going sideways, you know, feel free to let Liz know. She knows how to get a hold of me, and I might be able to right the ship, especially if you're in the TEP at the high school. So I can, at least I know the paths to take to get the people that need to know knowing. So feel free, Allison, if that happens again, to reach out.
Okay.
Go to Dan.
Let's have Cindy go next.
Okay. Hi, I'm Cindy, and I'm from Felton. I'm asking if there's anything we can do as a community to mitigate these areas of concern you were talking about, like Fall Creek, Bull Creek, Shingle Creek. Anything that we can do, volunteer groups to, I don't know, clean up? Or I've seen piles of things on the sides of Graham Hill Road. I'm not sure who does that, but is there anything that we can be helpful on that will help protect our community?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question, and I actually get asked that quite a bit. The area, the watersheds of those three creeks and all of the areas of the CZU burn were treated, I guess you could say. After the fire, Cal Fire goes in with their foresters and a lot of the environmental scientists and such, and look for ways to rehabilitate the area to mitigate some of the issues of like bulldozer lines and such. As part of that, they tried to build areas that would stop these type of debris flows, or you know, smaller ones, obviously, by piling up logs in some spots. I don't understand the science behind it, but it's time. It is tested science, and they know what they're doing. So really, any type of preparation that can be made has been made on all of the watersheds that are in these risk areas. There's nothing we can do by, you know, getting rid of the debris or anything. We'd have to start taking dirt out too, because what happens in a wildfire, when you get that, you know, everything's super hot and it burns everything, you know, in a full consumption like that, and the duff, you end up with this waxy layer that is what they call hydrophobic. It doesn't, the water doesn't permeate through that layer. So what happens is, however deep that layer is, depending on how intense the fire activity was, is subject to become saturated and liquefy. So it's, you know, you'd have to remove that layer. And as far as I know, there's no effective way of doing that at this point. So it's a good question if there's anything that can be done. You know, to speak to the piles on Graham Hill, that's actually a fuel management project, cooperation between state parks, Cal Fire, and the Resource Conservation District, who does a lot of those type of fuel breaks. So all those piles that they have in there on the side of Graham Hill, they're going to chip And then there's a few that I think they were planning on burning, but I don't think the conditions are going to be anywhere near good enough to do that this year without fear of burning the whole mountain down. So there's a lot of other fuel treatments that have gone on more interior in the park, the Henry Cowell Park there, off of Graham Hill. So this will definitely enhance that safety corridor there. Also meeting next week with Bruce McPherson's office and a bunch of other officials to discuss some the Mount Herman area where it abuts to the old Hanson Quarry. There's a lot of old dry manzanita overgrown in there that's just waiting for a spark to just take off. And so because it's a protected habitat, we need to take some extra steps to make sure that we're not decimating the habitat, but we're also setting it up for, if a burn were to come through there, that it would be a lower intensity.
I think I'm going to add something here too, Cindy, because I know you've heard some of this, is what the community can generally do besides questioning our officials about what can be done is by doing stuff on your own property and the properties around you. I didn't hear so much this year or last year with the CZU fire, but I know with the fires of 08 and 09 up in Bonnie Doon, there was a lot of concern about property clearing and things like that. And so I think that one of the things that neighborhood groups can do is work on making their own area, however they define that, as fire safe as possible. And but fire's not the only disaster that could happen. So having a broader awareness of what can threaten your neighborhood is important, and also working to do that. So that's my 2 cents.
Well, and good thing that you brought up there, Liz. When you're talking about preparing your property, if we're speaking debris flow versus fire, there is a difference, because we did, the water has to go somewhere, and people were building moats around their houses and sandbag bunkers and such, and diverting the water outside of its normal flow path. And potentially running the water directly into somebody's garage or basement or something. So we had quite a few issues with that. The fact is that if you get a debris flow, a sandbag wall isn't going to do anything. It's just going to add to the debris that's flowing. So doing a whole bunch of work on your property to to eliminate debris flow risk, it's really not going to help, because if you live on the side of a very steep canyon, which also has a creek at the bottom, then it's really not going to be your dirt that's impacting you. It's going to be the dirt from up the hill. For those of you that were around in '82 when we had the Love Creek slide, that essentially was the top of the mountain moved down 200 feet. Just the whole thing just moved. And it's kind of a similar idea where the soil became moist and it hit all the way down to the bedrock, and that whole mass of soil just moved. So that's, in a debris flow, that's where the similarities are. That dirt that's, flooding your house, or that could potentially, block you in, maybe from 100 yards, 200 yards up the hill, or even in a creek. So, when you talk about fire stuff, absolutely. Everybody can do stuff on their own properties to, make your property more fire safe. And so I think, Andrew Clark is actually a defensible space inspector for CAL FIRE. So he's going to actually be going around this year doing some defensible space inspections, which is it's different than what we do. Ours is more of a consultation. We tell you the stuff you need to do, like a pre-test, if you will. So it sets you up for success when when Andrew and his folks come out to do the actual inspection. So it saves, I think, in my opinion, it saves everybody a bunch of time, because we come out there, we tell you where your problem spots are, give you time to do it, and then when they come out for their inspection, you're all set. So I think that will be good.
I'd just like to add in here that my neighborhood organized a visit from one of the folks from Felton Fire to come out and do that walkthrough of our neighborhood. We have about 55 houses in our neighborhood. And the folks who organized that spoke very highly. And I have heard from other folks in the community about them having somebody from, I think it was Audra from Felton Fire come out, and so that's another thing that you can, if you haven't done it, you can seek out. And with regard to fire, and she may be able to use, she may be able to comment on other things as well. So don't be afraid to reach out for that assistance.
Yeah,
Whoever.
and that is going to be something that we'll continue to offer ongoing. If anybody wants, my goal is that if anybody wants us to come over and give them some ideas on what they can do, we'll bring them over, and we'll come over. And yeah, Captain Dawson loves doing them. She likes interacting, and she likes to get the neighborhood involved. And that's really where you have the biggest success, is when the whole neighborhood, you know, jumps in. And I've talked about the Firewise communities. There's some benefits to becoming a Firewise community. Doesn't mean that your house won't burn down if there's a fire, it just means that you're Firewise. There's some insurance companies that will look favorably on it and even give rate reductions. And I think as the program becomes more well known, I think that you'll see more emphasis on preparing that type of stuff. So you know, and that's, we have resources if you want to, if your neighborhood does want to become a Firewise community. I have resources through the Fire Safe Council and that I've utilized for presentations on how you go about doing that. So that's something we can do with neighborhood groups. So with the winter months, it's kind of tailed off, but it is still an option if anybody's interested.
Okay, Tammy.
All right, so I see Liz, your hand, Cindy, and Dan.
Same.
Oh, Dan,
Question
you've been waiting a long time.
Yeah. Well, this question for Bob is that, should we have a debris flow that impacts homes, what role do you see, if any, for the CERT team after the event is over?
There's several things that I can foresee needing CERT for. You know, number one, using, like I did during CZU, having someone at the fire station to field questions and, you know, answer our phones, you know, and help control that you know, rumor mill. There's certainly you know, some different things like traffic control points, depending upon what exactly we have to do. It's going to really depend upon that. So I could see both clerical roles, and I can also see some operational roles that could certainly be filled if you know, we did see a large scale debris flow.
Okay.
And especially in the first little bit, as we're waiting for help to come in from around the state. Each time we've evacuated, we've had a rescue task force in the valley, available. They were posted up at our station this year, and they're ready to go. It's a whole setup ready to go for search and rescue in the event that a debris flow would happen. But they are just one team. So, you know, some of the other, you know, traffic control stuff, we would be handing off to you guys as CERT to, you know, for those of you who are trained in that, to help us with that, you know, isolating and rumor control.
Good, thank you.
I'm
Go to Cindy.
going to defer to Cindy.
I just wanted to praise Audrey Dawson because she's been so helpful in our neighborhood. We're in Forest Lakes, and we were very excited to become Firewise this past year. And of course, I know that means we can still burn, but we all have a very renewed interest in what can we do to keep each other safe and what can we do collectively. And I guess my question is, you know, the topic of winterizing is, are there any big topics of like, hey, work on this now so that it's not a big problem in the spring or the summer? I don't know, I'm seeing a lot of Scotch broom popping up everywhere, and I know that's
Absolutely.
very flammable.
Yeah, and you know, it's if you take care of it when it's small, it's not as big of a project. You know, as spring comes along and the sun comes out, everything's going to explode in growth, and you'll probably have to do it again. But there are things, if you see those types of things that, you know, are starting to grow back that maybe you pruned last year, absolutely. You know, you can trim them at any time of the year. In fact, being proactive is good. So I would definitely take, you know, the lessons from, you know, you get that we teach in the summer months, and they can be applied through the winter as well. And, you know, just looking through the publications that CAL FIRE has available, Ready, Set, Go. You know, looking at the 0 zone, which is the zone that's, you know, from 0 to 5 feet out from your house. The idea is to keep that zone with no flammable materials there, including no bark or anything, ideally. So non-flammable within 5 feet of the house. You know, if you have an old fence and you're replacing the fence and it attaches to the house, maybe look at non-flammable options to do that fence, because that was, you know, something that propagates fire really well, not necessarily terribly quickly, but it could take a tree that's on fire in the yard and carry that fire right up to the house. So, you know, things like that, you know, always be thinking about fire safety, even when the ground is saturated. You'll make good choices.
Right. We have some, there's a couple neighbors in our neighborhood that struggle to maybe maintain their yards. And we've been working on how to creatively approach them to do neighborhood projects where we all jump in and try to make a fun morning out of yanking their Scotch broom that's underneath the power pole. So,
well, and that's, you know, that's the whole core of Captain Dawson's inspection, is to work together with the neighbors, not, you know, everybody knows that damn neighbor over there is a hoarder, and, you know, you go to his house and you point your finger in his face and he's going to slam the door in your face. So, you know, trying to approach it with like, hey, you know, we learned some stuff, can we share it with you? You know, she's gotten a lot more bees with honey than vinegar in that approach. And there's a lot of folks have been identified as, you know, they want to, but they're either not capable physically or financially to do it. And you know, if we run into situations like that, you know, I'd like to know about it, because I have, like I said, resources that we can potentially tap, either through you know, volunteer groups, you know, even through Slevin. I mean, we could start doing some trainings on, you know, how to do some light brushing and that sort of stuff, so you can help out your neighbors and yourself. So, you know, the first year that we did this program, it was kind of just, let's get out there, and anybody who wants it, let's just give them you know, some pointers, and, you know, we'll get as much as we can done. And I was very pleasantly surprised on how many people did as much as they did. So, you know, it definitely points out the ones that are lacking now. And so if we could figure out what the barrier is and try to find a solution for that, whether it be, they just need somebody to help them out with the work, or if, they don't have a truck to haul the stuff, there's definitely services that can be connected. So just if you let me know if you have somebody like that in your neighborhood, I can try to get the resources. The only thing I ask of you is that they want the help. I don't want to be going out there and trying to be the strong arm to force them to do it. I know there's folks out there that are like that they will not will not see the fire department's help as anything other than the man trying to keep them down. So you can't win them all, but if we can get those ones that maybe it's just a physical thing, or they don't have a vehicle to transport the stuff. Also talking with through the board of supervisors, trying to get them to sponsor some more free yard waste days at the Ben Lomond transfer station, especially in the spring and the fall. That was the past done by the Air Pollution Control District. They sponsored those days to actually curb the burning in the valley, so the air quality was better. But that program ran out, and so I would love to see it again, to be opened up for people that want to get rid of the stuff but just don't have the extra cash.
Yeah, it's amazing how quickly those green cans fill up.
Yeah, and that's one of Captain Dawson's things, is it's like, if you work as a neighborhood, maybe somebody isn't using their green cans, and you can fill that one up, and everybody kind of shares the resource of the green cans, and because it's you're paying for it either way. So if you put it on the curb full every week, then it's going to ultimately benefit everyone.
Yeah, Liz.
Before we move too far away from this topic, I wanted to add that there's also another community organizing mechanism called Map Your Neighborhood, which fits in it's sort of Firewise, only bigger, in that it can address a larger group of concerns. We have the ability to come and teach that to your community, to your neighbors. So if you have a handful of people who are interested in community organizing around disaster preparedness and other things, but you just need a spark, pardon me, given our discussion, let us know, or get a hold of Tammy or me. Sliven has talked about putting some energy into promoting this program. So if, and I know Caroline also has experience with this program. So if you are interested in doing that, give me a call, give somebody here a call, give us an email, and we'll help you put it together. The initial phase is just sort of like a coffee klatch or a good old Tupperware party, only we don't sell anything, and we just come out and talk to your neighbors who are interested in this kind of organizing, and give you lots of pointers, and then turn you loose. So anyway.
And that's a good point, Liz. A lot of the Fire Safe Council's presentations are tying in with the CERT Map Your Neighborhood program, because it is such a good model to not just for fire, but for all risk, any type of earthquake, flood, you name it. Underwater volcanoes, tsunamis. Wish I was kidding.
Yeah, I know. We haven't had any hurricanes.
Oh, don't say that.
I'm scared of underwater volcanoes personally.
I am now too. Well, it wasn't a week ago or 2 weeks ago. All right, Dan, did you?
Yeah. With this Colorado fire that's ongoing, at least on the news, we keep repeating the idea that we no longer have a fire season. Kind of out of your area, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Have you heard any kind of talk about the state actually staffing 24 or 365 instead of just being surprised?
I am pretty certain it's not too far off. Funding is obviously part of the issue, a sustainable funding, but there's already, upstaffing that occurs that wouldn't have been this way 10 years ago. It's not to say it's the frequency to which we get fires changes. So in the summer, we just get a lot of big fires all over the state. Eventually, the northern part of the state will, or at least the Sierras, will shut down due to snow. So as long as there's snow, we at least have that to, to help us. So it'll curtail the number of engines you need to cover the state. Cal Fire's got a pretty good system to move things around. So when you get these, quote unquote off-season fires like what we have in Big Sur area, while it's difficult, they still can mobilize resources that they have that are staffed year round. So they take fuels crews, crews that would be out there doing vegetation management during the off season and put them back into firefighting roles. So there is definitely, a shift. But yeah, the way that we do business, I mean, I've been doing this for 25 years now. And, if you told me, 20 years ago that this would be what we were facing, I'd be like, yeah, right, whatever. You're smoking crack. And so it's our new reality, and it isn't going to go away, and we need to adapt to it. And I think that you'll see in the coming years that government moves slowly, as we all know, but they are moving in a positive direction. So I think that we will see a year-round staffing model of some sort very soon. One other thing, since we're talking about winter and fire, something that people don't necessarily take into consideration is, yeah, it rained a bunch, but once you get a little bit of wind, especially a dry wind like we had a week or so ago, that dries out the vegetation, and to a level that would actually be surprising to you. The trees don't just because it rained are suddenly topped off. They are drought stressed, so they're already kind of barely hanging on there, and then you blow dry them with a nice dry wind. It's similar to what we see in the southern part of the state, where they get the Santa Ana winds and things will burn just because it's windy, and it spreads the fire so rapidly. So I think it's just worth mentioning that everybody keeps telling me, oh, you must be glad that we had some rain. It's like, yeah, well, we had some wind too, and so yeah, doesn't do what it used to. Let's just say that.
Well, every forest fire is setting perfectly green, healthy vegetation on fire. So it doesn't matter if they're wet or not. You know what I mean? It's like,
it's more of the illusion that, oh, we got 20 inches of rain, it must be no fire danger. It's like, no, you're still drought stressed, and any moisture that might be on gets dried up pretty dang quick. All right. I think I've taken up plenty of your guys' time. If there's any other questions, I could answer that.
Diana Sue? You're going to need to unmute.
How about now?
There you go.
Okay, I just have a bit of information which is kind of related on the peripherals. I was working at Highlands Park Senior Center today, and a fellow from the county came by to post a flyer that kind of seemed pretty important because a lot of people had trees cut down on their property, and the wreckage left for the people to deal with. And apparently there's a January 31st deadline for those people to make contact with this organization so that PG&E will be responsible for helping for the cleanup. Now, I don't know what you know about that. And I was working and I didn't write down the phone number for contacting this person, but just kind of seems a little bit pertinent to what we're talking about tonight.
Yeah,
And
I know exactly what you're talking about. That is, yeah, there was a lawsuit that was recently settled between the county and PG&E for trees that they removed without permission following the CZU fire. And apparently they left a lot of debris behind. I haven't dealt with it firsthand, but I am aware of that issue. And I was not aware that there was a looming deadline. So what I can do is I can get you some information perhaps from the county and forward it out to Liz, and you can maybe forward that out to the membership here so we can distribute that far and wide.
he gave me a poster and I posted it at the Highlands Park Senior Center on the door so that anybody that comes would see it, and wasn't thinking I should probably take a copy of it or at least get the phone number. So if you want to call the Senior Center in Ben Lomond at 336-8900, it's posted on the front door with a phone number for contact. Sorry, I wasn't thinking far enough ahead to have
That's
got
okay.
that info.
No, and Andrew looks like he posted some links in here for the Mercury News about the affected areas. So he's got some links in there. I will also look into what the counties posted and what you're talking about, and get that publication and such to Liz so we can forward it to the membership.
Yeah, it seemed like a real short deadline, so I wanted to pass that on.
Yeah, oftentimes that's when things are daylighted, is when there's a short deadline, unfortunately.
Thank you.
So Chief Gray, if this is a good time, let's talk about winterizing. We're moving into January and our flood storm season runs all the way into the beginning of April. So did you want to comment on anything related to that?
Yeah, I think that, I'll try to keep it as brief as I can, but
you're on no clock.
Okay, well, there's in regards to winterizing, I think that other than what we talked about with the debris flow stuff, the good old-fashioned preparedness stuff comes in that we haven't necessarily been hammering on because we've had these large disasters. But having the the AM FM radio, having your for those of you that are certs, having your backpacks ready to go, even having go bag ready for clothes and prescriptions and such. We're at a year-round just disaster area. And something can always happen where we might need to be evacuated or voluntarily evacuate. If you get the power's out at your house and the wind's blowing and the trees are falling down, it's just like, okay, I'm going to leave. I know several people that do just that, and go stay in a hotel. And so having a bag ready, for if it's something as simple as just, I want to get out of here because this is just too much for me, to we got to go down, grab your stuff. So, I think that making sure now is a great time because, we're kind of in between storms at the moment, but get your supplies ready. Make sure you got food and water for everyone in your home, prescription medications. If you're deciding to stay at home, if you have a generator, that the generator's in proper working order, and it's properly wired to the house so it won't backfeed the electrical system and shock somebody. That's our biggest concern on the response side when we're dealing with wires down, because even though PG&E's de-energized them, if there's a generator that's hooked up and backfeeding through the system, it can actually step it up to high voltage and electrocute the PG&E workers as well as first responders. So, making sure your generator's in good working order. Something we see all too often is people will be refueling their generator while it's running because they don't want to shut the power off, and it'll catch on fire. So, follow good etiquette when refueling and where you place your generator. Also, kind of in the generator heating realm of things, is if you are using a source of heat that is combusting fuel, make sure that you have an appropriate carbon monoxide alarm. A lot of times that if you are without power and maybe you're not running some of the same stuff, a furnace or something like that that has a carbon monoxide leak may actually impact you more because you don't have the airflow through your house that you would if the power were on, because you're running ventilation. So, there's all these different aspects to look at in wintertime, but really year round, it's important. So some of the other things I got here, let's see here. Making sure that if you have pets and you evacuate, that you take the required food and leash and a bed, so that they can be comfortable as well. When you're evacuating, if you're having to pack up and go because of a winter storm, a lot of times if you have children, you'll have to give them a job to do, like to pack their toys or something. It gives them something to do, and it makes them feel like they're being part of the solution during a stressful situation, and it can give the adults some time to breathe and collect their thoughts. So, it's, again, that's like a worst case scenario if you're leaving in a hurry, but it's still a good practice to do. The old-fashioned drill, just practice. It doesn't hurt if on a Saturday when everybody's home, you say, okay, let's just say we have 20 minutes to get out of the house. Or how quickly can we get out of the house? And you set a stopwatch and you load up and you get in the car and you see what the stopwatch says, and then you look to see, did you forget anything? It's amazing how, even though it sounds very simple and almost silly, it's hugely beneficial to kind of daylighting those things that you don't have. It's like, shoot, I should have brought a nail file or something like that. It's just a comfort item that would be really handy, and we take it for granted because everything's at our fingertips. So just kind of going through that process to make sure that you can get the stuff you need and get out of your house as quickly as possible. Knowing if possible multiple ways in and out of your property. So if for instance, Forest Lakes, there's a main road in and out. It's Lakeview, Lakeside, changes halfway, and that's the main road, and that's what most people know because that's how you go in and out. Know those little side streets, that are maybe parallel the main road that you have in your neighborhood. And if you don't know what they are, you can always ask me, ask another neighbor, do some research, drive around on a nice day, when there isn't a disaster occurring, and find out where that road that goes over there goes to. Google Earth is always fun, but just trying to look at what your options are if you were to have to make decisions, because your biggest success is going to be if you have all the information you need when you need it. That's not going to happen. So you're not going to ever have all the information you need, especially in that situation. So what you want to do is try to front load it as much as possible. So things like, how am I going to get out of here, or what am I going to take, aren't things that you're having to worry about in the moment. Power lines, we've talked about power line safety and what to do with power lines, and it's been kind of an issue when you get these big storms and you're getting dozens of wires down and tree into wires and wires and wires and wires, and sometimes it's a communication wire, sometimes it's a power wire, sometimes you don't know. We continue to tell everybody, treat every black snake on the ground as if it were a live wire. And just isolate that area. You know, as you folks as community responders, you're going to have a hard time without, you know, the full get up to be able to, you know, tell people to, you know, stay away from there. But what you can do is inform them that, hey, there's a power line down there. I think it might be live. And if they choose to walk through, then that's their problem. Maybe turn around so you don't watch them fry. But you know, it's definitely, you can't stop. What I've learned, one thing, you can't stop people from doing what they're going to do. And quite honestly, it's your safety is most important in that case. So, you know, inform people, hey, there's wires down. If they want to go through and they say, nah, I ain't worried about it, it's like, okay, whatever. And, you know, do the best you can with what you got. So, that's basically all I had as far as winterizing. Oh, I guess, I'm sorry, one more thing. Wood stoves. I'm sure you've all been using wood stoves if you have them. You know, making sure that that's properly maintained is important. If that your chimney's in good working order, that if you have a stove pipe, that's, you know, in good shape, it hasn't, you know, have burned through holes through it. And then of course, just sweeping the chimney so you don't get the creosote buildup. There's folks out there that service chimneys as a business, and I recently had one of them come over, and I can't think of the guy's name right now. He was just a guy that did that work, but he came over and he had a little camera that he ran down the chimney and looked in the pipe and checked the seals on the wood stove, and it's kind of like a little tune-up for the wood stove, both for efficiency but also for fire safety. So, you know, don't take it, you know, for granted that your appliances also need some maintenance from time to time, both the furnace for heat as well as the wood stove. And you know, you make sure that you're safe with all the stuff that you can be safe with, and you know, you'll greatly increase your you know, your survivability, I guess you could say, or your sustainability out with in a storm situation where you're without basic utilities. In my house, it's a bigger deal if the internet's down than the power, because my daughter knows how to work around that power thing. So, but that's all I had on that winterizing portion of it.
Ask a question.
Yeah.
We just had a tree fall the other day ago in Forest Lakes. It was like 5:30 in the morning, and the power, half of it went out, and it went out fully for some of the other neighbors. Is the right thing to do in that situation to call you guys or to call PG&E? Because I called both, and I'm just wondering.
Well, that's the safe bet. You just call both and let us.
I'm paranoid on fire.
But,
yeah.
You know, well, yeah. When it comes to power lines do start fires. Absolutely. I have not seen a large percentage of fires in Felton started by power lines that have spread to anything in the off season. Now, having said that, as we talked about earlier, things have changed. So I would assume that it could burn at any time of year, even if it just had rained. Call us and we'll come. And if it's no big deal, then it's no big deal. We get to go home. But if you don't call us and it turns into something, and then it turns into a bigger incident, you know, we don't want that either. So don't be afraid of calling us and bothering us about if it's like, well, I don't know if this is really appropriate or not. In that particular case, there was someone trapped. Well, I don't know, trapped is the right word, but isolated within their home because of the tree going down. And had it just been a call to PG&E that, hey, I can't get out of my house, the wires are down, it probably would have gone into a stack of a bunch of different things, of different issues. So by calling the fire department and having us come out, we assess, because that individual couldn't see what was going on. And had she come out, there was wires everywhere. So there's obviously something wrong. Call us up, we'll come check it out. And we'll be there way before PG&E in most cases. So, and then we can then in turn relay to PG&E the needs that we have. If it's like, hey, there's people trapped, we need to make this a priority. We can we have the ability to push those up. A couple of years ago, picking on Forest Lake, sorry, but there was a large tree that came across right at the bottom of Forest Lakes and blocked, 2/3 of the homes in Forest Lakes, both in and out. We couldn't get up there. It was a big tree, all wires all mashed up. It sat like that for at least a day until one of the residents who was well connected made a phone call to Anna Eshu's office, and then things really happened quick. If you don't know Anna Eshu, just don't make her mad. That's just stay on the good side, and you're great. She will make things happen. But she went through and got PG&E to get a crew out there right away and open that road up. So since that incident, I have developed some connections to be able to make that sort of response possible. When I say I need somebody to come out right now, it doesn't mean that I'm tired of waiting. I need you to come out. I need you to come out because there's a potential issue here. That could be a major issue for PG&E. And we have an understanding, at least for now, until there's a change of guard. But my goal is to first off, if there's a tree down, to clear the road so there's nobody blocked as quickly as possible. And we won't get the power back on. That's not our job, but it's not even our we won't cut up the tree, but we can at least assess it and make the proper notifications. And if we have time, or if it's dangerous, we will stand by. A lot of times we'll tape it off, report it to PG&E, and just block the area off and move on to another call. So long answer to say yes, when in doubt, call everyone. PG&E will oftentimes call us anyway. So just call everybody.
And I called 911 because it was before your business hours. Is that the right thing, or should I have called a different number?
You don't know what's going on, so 911 is always appropriate in that scenario. We're not wanting to, delay response by, we'll call this number, so it's not, it'll process through the system. We're set up to do it. Just use the system. It's there for you when you don't know what's going on and you need assessments.
Thank you. Okay.
Any other questions?
Well, since I have you on the line, so to speak, yesterday, Dan and I were driving down Graham Hill, and there were 2 flares, meaning the old scratch kind.
Yeah.
Not like, the kind that have fire attached to them, left on the pavement along Graham Hill.
Right.
And we weren't sure, I wasn't sure what to do, but any time of year, it bothers me when we have unattended fire near brush. So I just called 911, and the guy seemed a little flummoxed originally to say, like, why are you calling about this? And it was like, well, there's fire on the road.
Well, people call for much, much less things than that. So, if there's an unattended flare on the side of Graham Hill Road, absolutely. I mean, it needs to be dealt with. And if you feel that you're comfortable with doing it yourself and extinguish it, great, do that. But if you are in a position where you can't stop or do that, then let somebody know. And 911 is a good one to let go. And
well, actually, the message was pretty much because the CHP had left it there. They canceled Scotts Valley's response, which I don't know why they sent out Scotts Valley, but
I'm of the thought that if you notify, call them back on it and bring the folks back that left the flare there, it may change the behavior in the future. So, we've talked with CHP because when they're, in and out of the station or you were working with them on a call, talking a little bit about, just you're making sure that's out before you leave, unless it's pouring rain.
Right.
The only exception.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, that was not the case. You know, I'm sure the instructions say do not leave unattended.
Probably. I should read them.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah. Anybody else have anything for me? Always available. I'll put my email in the chat. How about that? So if you guys have anything you need, just email me.
Hey, Bob, I have a question for you that is actually unrelated to winterizing, but it is related to Felton Fire. And that is maybe a couple months ago, there was one of the members, one of the volunteers from the Felton Fire crew was doing some fundraising out, and maybe it was in front of the Felton Safeway for tactical pants, I think was one of the things they were fundraising for. I guess I wanted to know what folks can do if they would like to make donations to Felton Fire for that or other opportunities.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you. The fire department, the fire district is not set up to take donations. So all the donations go to our firefighter association, and they fund the purchase of some of these things. Recently we changed all of our uniform pants to what the dual cert is what they're called. They're both they're rated for a wildland fire pant as well as station wear. So one of the things that does for us is that we don't have to, on those days we're already dressed and in half of our gear as part of our uniform. We don't have to, shed the uniform pants, put on the fire pants. It's, a lot of agencies are going that direction. So that was one of the things that we were raising money for in that particular setting. We always are looking for donations for various different things. We're looking at this point, we're looking for saving up for a what they call type 6 fire engine, essentially a pickup truck with a pump on it. They're much more nimble and easy to get into some of these tight roads. Those of you who've seen our stuff, we have a pickup right now that has a 80-gallon water tank in the back. While that's good, it's not, it's fairly limited. It's great to put out a smaller fire or catch a fire before it becomes a big fire, but once it becomes that, then it's pretty useless because you have to refill it with water and then charge it with air and so on and so forth. So what we're looking at is a vehicle that is set up for a little bit higher profile, so it can go off road. It's 4-wheel drive. It would also serve as kind of a rescue vehicle for trail rescues and such that we do. So that's something that we're a big ticket item that we're looking to save up for. It's got estimates about $250,000 for such a thing. So we're, if you're interested in making donations, there's on the Felton Fire website, we have the donate button that you can click on that. They also have the association has an online store where they sell the merch, so to speak, the t-shirts and the cups and the stickers and that sort of thing. If you're giving, if that's something that you would want to give as a gift or for yourself, you can always do that. So that's another way. The third way is to just make a donation in person. I suggest if anybody's making larger donations, they do it in person. We will give them kind of a personal explanation of what we're looking to raise money for and what the benefits are. Some people like just to be anonymous and mail in a check. That's fine too, but I try to get people to come in and make the donation so we can thank them face to face for larger donations. But if you just want a quick, easy way to donate $20, you know, you can go to the website and either buy something or just donate. So thank
Right,
you.
and that-
Yeah, we
yeah, sure.
always can use money, especially for
Feltonfire.com. Yes.
feltonfire.com.
Donate button on the upper right corner.
Well, thank you all. I appreciate the questions, and you know, and you all know I enjoy talking. So, yeah, if you have anything you know that comes to mind that I can be of assistance, or Captain Dawson could be of assistance, I put my email in the chat. And yeah, give me a ring or an email.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Really appreciated all of your
Yes, thank you.
everything you've just told us about, and great information.
Thank you. My pleasure.